First, I would like to welcome back Olga from Lithuania Travel. Please take the seat. Next up, we also have Girmantas Neniškis, a sport marketing professional with a wide-ranging portfolio from global brand expansion to city rebranding. Girmantas is also the godfather of Lithuanian surfing and now operates a surf camp, hostel and performance academy here in Klaipėda. So Girmantas, welcome. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Gediminas Almantas. Please join us on stage. With over a decade of experience in aviation and airport management, former CEO of Lithuanian airports, Gediminas is currently the chairman of leading tour operator in the Baltics, Novaturas, also a board member of Lithuanian airports and air traffic management company Oro Navigacija. Okay, so welcome. I will join you here on the spot. And probably we have some time for the discussions. I know that you all have topics you brought up, but probably to kick off from what Agnes said, she mentioned that she doesn't heard about the Klaipėda region or doesn't know the potential. So probably maybe we could start, Olga, with some not very convenient question, but do you think we pay enough attention to the tourism sector in general in Lithuania, and by hearing what it was said, are we actually competitive? And
So, yeah, I could say, unfortunately, there are no politicians who could answer this question more maybe directly, because in my opinion, we really do not have enough attention from the government to the tourism sector. And this is one of the main problems at all, talking about the budgets, talking about the resources. I could say that Lithuania is really competitive, and we have what to show to the tourists. The only thing that the COVID and the war right now just made the effect as it is right now, and for us it's really quite difficult to stand up and go ahead. But I believe like in a few years we will come back to the 2019 year that was really very good, and I have an ambition to go ahead and to have more foreign tourists. Of course, everything depends not only on our creativeness and our hands, and of course, as I mentioned before, regarding the budget, and you saw the target markets, and we saw like in Norway and Sweden are really right now, we do not work with these markets, as we do not have enough resources in our agency, and we do not have enough resources for the making the great awareness campaigns, as it really needs to have a lot of money and a lot of attention to the market. And yes, these markets are really quite difficult for us to understand. Since 2015, we were trying to do that, but unfortunately there was no big result. So I always remember very funny things when you are doing like a campaign, everybody is happy, like Lithuania right now is on the Norwegian media channels, and like the day after, the new media like press releases like somebody was killed by Lithuanian. And I mean, everything was going down, all your like, you know, work, 3 month, 2 month work was just like gone. Yes, but another thing, for example, what we have with the Israel market as a potential market, of course, right now, also a few days ago, what is happening, we also are looking for and thinking is will be the market still potential right now. But last year we had the interesting inquiry from the tour operator who said, like, could you show us the hiking product in Lithuania. We just like, you know, decided to see creatively, and we said like, you know, we do not have a mountains, but we have a lot of national parks with great pathways and walkways and really hiking trails. And we brought this group of tour operators and travel agents to show this product. And you know, after the 2 weeks, they brought the first group. So I mean, the possibility, the opportunities they are, and we need just to be creative and think how to take this opportunity.
Being also, again, maybe not that comfortable, how creative in the public sector we are.
Okay, I can say only about our agency, so we really do, and we are. And I'm also very happy about the city agencies like Go Vilnius, like Kaunas, so they also are really doing quite well. And I believe that even the other cities and smaller and bigger can be also creative. The only thing that people need to have knowledge and experience how to work with the marketing, and not only everything depends on the money, but money also are very important. Yes.
I see that Gediminas is taking notes, but also maybe you can share that with us, and then maybe also your insights from a business perspective. You represent the tour operator that is running around the Baltics. So, how, from your perspective, Lithuania is competitive enough or not?
Yeah, I'm writing a poem here. Like that's okay. To be serious now on a tour operator. So Novaturas is an organization that, in fact, brings people away from the country, not brings them here. But again, coming back maybe to the question that I asked, the fundamental question is, in the eyes of the average Italian German citizen, which markets are competitive markets around? And I believe it would be Nordic markets in a way, for many reasons. It's for the first visit. Then how many repeated visits we can have, because let's say one thing is to go every year to Venice from here, and you're always excited and so on. Another thing is to do a Baltic tour, and then you're done. You have your check in the list, and that's it. So those are very fundamental questions to answer. What is the potential for the tour operators here in the region? But what you mentioned about Israel, I think we have advantage in the niche markets for sure, with diaspora, with some historical background, and the only thing needed is to activate them, either in a special areas like sports or hiking. So that's to press the right buttons, because on the global market, I don't believe that we are competitive with the more promoted or attractive destinations.
Okay, Girmantas, do you agree on that? Are we the one-time visit destination from your perspective?
Are we at least a one-time visit destination yet? But on a serious note, I would say there are several things when we're talking about tourism, and several layers, let's say. And first of all, I think it's hygiene. Just the core basics. If I would guess, I could make a bet if anybody's up for it. I would guess that the highest occupancy for hotels in Klaipėda is the rooms that allow pets. Yet, all around Klaipėda, every other green area is littered with signs, no dogs. So how does that correlate? Secondly is infrastructure. You spoke about cruise ships, right? So before we had access, for the cruise ships to come into Klaipėda port, there was no cruise tourism, whatever. So we cannot expect to have sports tourism. We cannot expect to have any sort of other tourism if we don't have the infrastructure. And the third layer, when we have the infrastructure, is actually the events or projects or whatever else that follows through. For example, I'm coming from sports background, and if you would ask me, does Garda Lake in Italy has better wind than Vente in the Curonian lagoon, I would say no. But Lake Garda has much better marketing because they do 2, 3, 4 international events every year for the wind sports community. But at the same time, if I would ask any municipality, would you spare 200,000 euros to host a world tour event? We could easily do that, and we could have a lot of international exposure and a lot of people coming through for the event and after the event. But there's none of it. So I would say like we haven't really brushed off the hygiene yet. But in order to grow the tourism as an industry, we have to talk about the infrastructure, and we have to talk about further investment in events and other projects.
But what we saw from the data, when we have a lot of tourist flows in the capital region and so on, and having also the national perspective, when, let's be honest, most of the important infrastructure is also based around that area. Do we stand a chance as a coastal region? And for example, from your background, when talking about water sports, which is recently named probably as a cherry on top that we could have in the region for being attractive. So do we have a chance to attract the needed infrastructure? Is it needed here by the community? And how we could transform that into sellable tourism product? Should we? That's also a question.
Well, I can tell you a story from COVID. When in 2020, I realized that nobody's going to be able to travel. Everybody's going to be staying at the seaside, and that's how this newest iteration of Surf Camp was established, where we opened up a surf hostel in Melnrage, and we launched our surf academy here in Klaipėda, even though the project itself is more than 15 years old. But the side effect was that besides all the Lithuanians coming to the seaside, we started getting people from Finland who come to surf in Lithuania because they had booked a trip to Portugal, but they couldn't leave because of COVID. They Googled, they found Klaipėda, and they came to surf in Lithuania. So if, let's say, 2 people came through, it means more people can come through. We come back to hygiene. If the municipality is promoting Klaipėda as a surfing city, but at the same time, municipal rules ban surfing on all the beaches, we cannot have this dissonance. At the same time, infrastructure. I was just really excited to see Olga's presentation and to see some of the actual numbers. If we build a surf park facility, which costs under the roof roughly 45-50 million euros, looks like a lot, but the shortage is only 20 million, which is the roof. In 1 year, we can have 60,000 tourists coming in, and with the actual spending of 374 euros, I did the math, is 22 million impact on local economy just from tourism point of view. But then we add the innovation on top, then we add all the additional industries that can be developed alongside this sports infrastructure. So definitely investment is viable, is feasible. The question is, who's going to be the one to invest? Because for a facility like this, we have room for one in the Nordic region, and who's going to be the first? They will take that cherry on top.
Okay, so can we build up a team to start working on that? I have people from Klaipėda IT's investment agency. Maybe that's also. But okay, so what I hear now is also the question about cooperation also. About lacking the person who also takes responsibility for that, for taking the flag and moving in front. And also the question is whether you brought that to the municipality and to the decision makers who...
Well, we've tried to, we didn't bring it to municipality yet because we've been talking directly to the Innovation and Economy Ministry. And we've been talking to them about having an access for a tourism product, and it was like just maybe 2-3 weeks ago we got a clear-cut answer that no infrastructure will be funded, which is very weird considering that the National Progress Plan projects that GDP part, like GDP composition, tourism has to come up from 2.9% to 4.5%. So it means like 50% increase. How can you achieve that increase without actually investing? I might be a maximalist, but what is a tourism product in Lithuania? Hiking is not a product; it's a sub-product. It's a happy coincidence that we have some lakes, whatever. Disney World is a product. I don't know how many people visited Disney World, but probably 100,000 a day, maybe more. This is a tourism product that will attract, tourists to the region. So thinking small and thinking about all these like niche products, it's fine, but it just shows our desperation that without proper investment, we cannot talk about anything. So coming back to your question, once we got the answer, no, there's not going to be governmental support for a project of this scale, then we turned back to municipalities like, okay, so then we have to find a municipality that may not be perhaps they cannot afford 20 million at once, but maybe they can afford 2 million for 10 years. And then again, you spend 2 million, you get in return 20 million just on tourism impact, not to consider, GDP, not to consider, income tax, not to consider any other, tax and social benefits that are coming back to the city. So now we're starting to discuss, these opportunities and to look for municipalities that, could be potential sites. But yeah, it's a very steep hill to climb, and I've been there myself for over 15 years, building surfing since its inception, and we still haven't had any substantial investment or at least support from municipalities or national organizations. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Gediminas.
Right. Thanks. If I can add on this, I think that's a very relevant topic. We are in the wrong room here for big money.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a note on that.
That's for sure. From the national perspective, and even the deepest pockets are not present here in this building because it's military today. So if you cannot call it as a military product, you probably will not succeed these days.
Fortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are solutions also for short budgets of the states or municipalities. PPP projects like public-private partnerships, concessions, there are a big list, but I mean, in Lithuania, we somehow afraid of this. We kind of have stigma with those things, and that they are not moving, like by attracting a good private investor that would invest and take a risk, and that risk will be shared with the government, municipality, is not happening. And why is that? I think it's a lack of competence and understanding. That's straightforward.
That's answer to all Lithuanian problems, actually, lack of trust and cooperation. We can say that. But getting back to the infrastructure, what was also mentioned in Olga's presentation already, we are quite lucky and equipped with different type of infrastructure, airport, railways, port. Nevertheless, the numbers that we also saw in the presentation of inbound tourism are not that attractive and quite modest. What would be your insights? Why? What we lack, maybe starting from Gediminas, you are most experienced in aviation.
Aviation, right. Bad news and good news. Okay. So on a bad news side, airlines are the key players in this market. So what we hear from the airlines, they look at to Lithuania as one market, regular airlines, I mean. So for them, Vilnius is a top destination because this is the high yield market with the high traffic on a regular basis. That's how they look. So when they look into Lithuania, then Klaipėda region with Palanga, Klaipėda airport is the last choice they do. We have here regular airlines that do business here almost forever, like SS, Air Baltic. And they continue. Air Baltic comes with interesting product like Amsterdam very recently. It's surprisingly like they picked this destination, but it's a data-driven business, so they know what they do. But to launch a regular connection to Palanga is a nightmare. Either you subsidize it from, let's say, Vilnius traffic or a government pocket. Otherwise, the airlines doesn't see a huge potential here. Mainly because their argument is we have mostly expat traffic out of Lithuania, but we have quite a low inbound traffic. And again, chicken and egg game. So no infrastructure, nothing to do here, or let's say boring stuff. So why should I come here if there are more interesting markets like electric boat in Norway, whale hunting? No, watching.
No, watching.
So it all comes in a circle, actually. Starting with the accessibility, we need to focus on what you said, having some strong infrastructure projects or points of attraction, then moving to the marketing and talking about ourselves and presenting ourselves abroad. and then we can come back to the connectivity issues and talking about attractive, or it's a closed deal in general, as you said. So the question maybe stepping out a bit of the coastal tourism sector, but if we have 3 airports in Lithuania, so there's no point for that from your perspective?
From business perspective, there is no point to have in a small country like Lithuania 3 airports. That's for sure. Like the cost of running Palanga and Palanga Klaipėda airport are very close to running Vilnius airport, because the basic costs are very similar. You need to have the infrastructure, aviation security, firefighting, ground handling, and all other facilities. So if you have low scale, you have very high costs. That's the problem. So from pure business perspective, no, but from the regional perspective, for sure. And if we have it, the question is how we maximize it. And I don't see a lot of efforts in maximizing and squeezing out of this maximum.
What would you recommend to the region? What could be those efforts?
Invest into the idea of Girmantas.
So I think now we have a regional development team on here.
No, but
I think
really,
we will
I mean, there
go
should be
once again to the Ministry of Economy and Innovations all together.
it should be a unique selling point. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes,
this product
yes,
that you
yes.
propose is a unique selling point.
I don't know what, like a couple weeks ago, we had the delegation from SES Air Baltic and so on visiting Surf Camp, going to try surfing in Klaipėda and so on. And we've talked about all these different, issues and challenges that surfers face, had the aviation security and so on. And one of the key topics was actually the direct connection to the United States. And I said, yes, we need the LAX connection for sure. And they're like, okay, so, what's going to be the inbound traffic? And this is the answer. California has the biggest, surfing population. If you offer them good quality waves for a reasonable price with some additional tourism products on the side, you have the incoming traffic, from LAX. I don't know how many of you have been to California, but it's getting pretty busy in the ocean there. And somehow, they still don't have any surf facilities that you can actually get your waves, by the hour or whatever. And we've been in touch with the developers. And for example, the Waco, Texas facility, they mostly are booked for private sessions because people bundle up 4, 5, 6 people. And then we're talking about the completely different market because, for them to spend $2,000, US dollars for an hour, it's nothing. Americans usually laugh about euros and Canadian dollars like it's monopoly money, but these days USD is a monopoly money because you don't understand, the money flows that are happening, on the other side of the ocean. And while we're just looking at these like 300 euros spent by an incoming tourist, we can, 10 times multiply that with the right, target, with the right segment of incoming tourists.
I know that we are having quite fun here on the panel, but I saw that we have a lot of questions, but somehow my internet connection is lagging behind. So maybe we could just borrow the phone, Eva, please. And also my question back to what Girmantas said, how do you think? So maybe being small with obviously no infrastructure and unique selling points, no attractive connections and so on, but should we prioritize focusing on a big foreign market like, I don't know, LA? Could this dream will come true if we focus just to this with a very specific goals like selling our coastal product of surfing or let's say?
It's hard to say yes, but it's harder to say no. So I can look at it from a different perspective. When I was a kid, I was windsurfing, and that was a big part of my life. And if anybody told me like 20 years ago that one day we will have a professional windsurfer that will have €100,000 budget to travel the world and do what he loves, I would have given my arm, to get cut off. Yet, right now we have Rytis Jasiūnas, who is a professional windsurfer, who's hopefully going to be in the Olympic Games next year, but he's the only Lithuanian competing on professional windsurfing tour that is most prestigious events across the globe: Japan, South Korea, Turkey, Germany, whatever. And he is currently traveling that pro tour. So Lithuania has come a long way. over the last, like 20, 30 years of independence, of course. And we are somewhat still limited by our own heritage, trying to look back instead of looking forward, where we can bring ourselves to. And talking about water sports, and let's not focus only on surfing. Let's go to kite surfing. Kite surfing is going to be an Olympic sport in Paris. Foil windsurfing, which is going to be Olympic sport, which is an Olympic class already. They're going to be in Paris, well, in Marseille, actually, but still in France. And why don't we host a world championship? We have the Coronian Lagoon, which has amazing conditions during the summertime, great winds, great infrastructure in Svensele, which was also built by private capital.
Yeah.
There was not much governmental support for Svensele to develop itself as a destination. But then again, we already have that infrastructure. We can host a global events, and those global events will give you exposure. With the exposure, you can talk about reaching that niche markets and niche tourists. And yes, I think it is possible and it is doable, but it does require a lot of, let's say, guts for some politicians to make that leap and to go for it.
I have a wonderful question just to finish up your talk. Would Girmantas run in the next mayor election?
I will answer this with an answer. Is mayor always the most influential one?
That's a question back to the audience, I guess. But summarizing what's already been said, so we have a vision. Now we identified more or less the path for the region to develop. But so where we need to start off? Having a team of professionals who would take the lead, spreading the news or looking for other ways or investments abroad. What could be the first step that is a must to do right now that we could proceed with implementing this dream, let's call it, or just a strategic vision?
Okay, that goes now into a plan of action, let's say. But it's always, I think, the start is with the people, whatever business it is. So, intelligent, ambitious people with the vision. That's the start point. That turns into the decision-making process. Because without the decision-making process, if it is not the mayor or the one that makes the decisions in the city, then it's nothing happening. I mean, it's only the group of dreamers or complainers at the end if the dreams not come true. So those are interrelated processes. And I think what we lack, and that's very open and straightforward, is a decision-making process that fails completely.
Yeah. I just remember that we have president from Klaipėda. Maybe we should address him directly. It's election time. Who knows? Okay, we have a lot of questions actually in the app, so let's start with that. Do we need a high-speed train in Lithuania? Probably. Gediminas, that goes to you.
Okay, so around the country. But I mean, high-speed train in Lithuania comes in 20 years. Sorry to say that, but that's the most, let's say, realistic scenario. Until it's built, if we talk Rail Baltic, until the product is developed, until we have trains, until we have interconnections and so on. So do we need? Yes, there is no world without trains now, but it happens in 20 years. So forget about that and think what we can do next day.
Okay. When thinking about what we should do next day, what are top 3 things needed from the local government to significantly increase international tourism to Klaipėda city? Olga, maybe you could.
I could say that the main 3 things, it's attention on the tourism sector at all, because right now there is no attention. Then the Klaipėda region should think about the tourism product that might be competitive to the whole Lithuanian tourism products. As you said, like there is no tourism product like a unique selling product. I could say like that we do not have, unfortunately, right now, the Lithuanian tourism strategy, because it was ended like in 2020, and when the COVID came and everything, the government changed, so there was no, still there is no strategy, and this is really very bad. I always go and say like when the strategy will be, because we as an implementation organization, we do only like ministry should make a politics on the tourism, and we need to implement it. But what we do right now, so we are going with the same things, like we have three main products. This is the cultural tourism, this is the nature tourism, and this is the spa and wellness tourism, as we have really in Lithuania resorts that have a natural resources, and this product might be very competitive if we're comparing to the Czech Republic or Slovenia. And but what I wanted to just to say that this might be the only thing that the like for you for Klaipėda region to decide what kind of the product it might be and go ahead with that for the marketing. What I really agree regarding this like surf or kiting or something like that. So, but this is like a niche product. I mean, in any way, it will be the target audience with some like profile, and you will go only for these people. But they can bring really the economy value to the economy, definitely.
I can react a little bit to this. If we would take a look at a global development, surfing has played key role in so many tourist destinations. What was Bali if it was not for Uluwatu wave and not for surfing? It was still a village without a bathroom. But because surfers came for quality surf, the first hotel opened up. After the first hotel, there was a first restaurant, then the second one, then the third one, then some random tourists started coming through, and so on and so on. So when we talk about gentrification, when we talk about destination discovery and so on, those niche products, they pave the way for much bigger tourism. We don't need to look further than Melnrage. 6, 7, maybe 8, 9 years ago, nobody would go to Melnrage, because if you park your car in that dirty lot and you would go to the seaside, you would get your window smashed and your goods stolen within 15 minutes. Then came the infrastructure. The parking lot was paved. For a year or two, they had even the cameras set up to prevent crime. Then suddenly surfers started coming through because the surf is good in Melnrage. You open up Google Maps right now, you will see surf camp, surf inn, surf house, Vandens Supynės, Baltas Ruonis restaurant, Ateik, and so on, and it keeps expanding. If we look at surfing as, let's say, tourism niche for Klaipėda, I could easily say that at least €500,000 impact on local market just right now, without any infrastructure, without actual municipal support or whatever. But if we take into account all the real estate that was bought in the area by the people from Vilnius, from other towns who wants to be closer to the waves, that number it's much higher. So on one hand, yes, it is a niche product. That's why it's so hard to work with it and so hard to sell this idea to the politicians or whatever. But at the same time, those niche products, they pave the way. They do the heavy lifting, and they pave the way for biggest tourism. Because as an example, we've been discussing with Akmenė municipality, which has roughly nothing. And if we build a wave pool in Akmenė, suddenly every single region, museum, park, national park, site, whatever, becomes attractable, because someone comes through, they will go to surf for an hour, then they have 3-4 hours to spare. They will go visit a museum, they will go do something else, they will go drink a coffee, whatever, and it's a huge impact for local, small businesses and tourism businesses. But then when you have that, like this is the egg and the chicken analogy, like which comes first. But then when you do have that infrastructure, suddenly someone's going to say, hey, I know a nice spot. You don't have to serve, but you can drink the best coffee in the area, and that's why they will go there, and that's why they will visit a certain area and so on. So I think it's also important to work with those niche products. And I'm not saying that surfing has to be the one. It's something close to me, but you can see that even on your charts, where Poland is going to Vilnius, but they're not going to Klaipėda, because they have Gdansk, they have Gdynia. It's much closer. It's really far to go from Poland to here. But then again, if we had something to offer, Warsaw is bidding for the Olympic Games in 2036. What does Lithuania do about it?
Gediminas, you also
Okay,
wanted
3
to add.
points from my side on this.
Okay.
So, what the question was what the municipality needs. Okay, so first is ambition and intelligence in this field. So the intelligence is just next to me, I think. Okay, ambition is missing probably. Then the second thing is budget with ambition for that purpose. Without budget, to be straightforward, I mean, nothing happens. Come on, like that's. I mean, you can still play the games and do the things like that and washy, but it's no substantial result. And the third thing is sustainability in doing the thing. So if you start, you need to continue to develop that, but not do one-off like a election show and that's it.
Yeah. So. Somehow technologies are not very friendly to me today, so I saw that you have a lot of questions, so please just be brave, stand up and ask a question. Probably that would be easier. Yes, please.
Okay, I can take this one. It's not the tourism sector, I think that's, but I think very relevant. So first of all, I'm very sorry to hear what you say. It's a shame on the country and on the people if you experience this kind of welcome in a country. Another thing is education in general is also a business sector on a broad scale. Like there are very successful business schools all around the world. And I don't believe we have we cope with the educational challenges inside the country. Strikes such as next door happening of the let's say of the teachers, but it comes back to a strategic point of the country. I don't think that the country has a strategic point on international education at all. It's only private initiative. So it's a holistic process, correlated things, as you say. It's not only coming to the country, but how welcomed you are, what are facilities, how long you can stay, what are your opportunities further for a job market, and so on. I don't think we are there, just to answer that.
Yeah, anyone else to add? But maybe stepping out from that and talking about the language barrier and our openness to other nationalities and different people from different countries, how that affects actually also our tourism proposal. From a very small perspective, we have challenges when we invite tourists to come and want to show them all the authentic details or the culture from our region, right? We always face a challenge and barrier of the language. So that probably goes to the further question of education, how prepared we are for international tourism in the overall country. Probably I would like to think that it's not only our region's problem and
It's not
perspective.
only your region's problem, yes. I could just maybe say what we facing like in our resorts, even the resorts like Birštonas and Druskininkai. So there is really big problem with the people, with those who work in hospitality sector, and of course it's a big challenge for the smaller cities to bring the good stuff, but still the objects that are really these objects that are doing really very well, so they are working for their like employees, and they invest in their employees, and this is somehow the really very serious thing. From perspective of Vilnius, for example, we do not feel like there is a problem regarding the language, because yeah, the biggest cities, they are doing pretty well, and it's more probably the problem of a smaller cities in Lithuania. But this is just what I feel and what I just hear with the feedback from the tourists. So
But then I know that Gediminas wants to add up, but just to comment on what you're saying, that also brings me back to the overall problem, stepping back a bit also again from the tourism, that we have Vilnius and the rest of the Lithuania, and the rest of Lithuania is a problem technically. In all the areas.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
yes. Because even when we do some fam tours to the tour operators, and we bring them to the special places where people, right now, people are looking for the experience. So Lithuania really has what to offer, and even small cities with a local community involving to the tourism products, they do have something to offer, but they do not speak the language. I mean, this is the biggest issue for even to bring, I don't know, Japanese people to Kupiškis, like a traditional center, and you need always to have somebody close to you to talk even in English. I'm not speaking about the Japanese language. So this is the issue, yes, in all the country right now.
Okay, I would argue in general that the language barrier is not the key factor, limiting factor in general, not considering like niche areas or regions or maybe businesses, but in general, I think the language skills are quite decent of the people around the country, and it's also quite easy improvement. I mean, you can attract employees from the foreign countries to work if you really need it. Should it be like English speakers or Russian speakers, whatever, that's doable. So business would react immediately if this would be a clear obstacle. So on that point, but in general, I would say even the safety issue, or safety is not an issue in general in a country like criminality is very low, and it's limited to primitive stuff around maybe some areas of the cities or the countries, but not on a big scale. We don't have favelas or the areas like that you don't really need to go and do it. So those are like safety is a big value these days. Like if you look around the world, you say it's really safe to come here and do the things, whatever you want to do. It's especially for families and with the kids, that's very valuable. It could be a unique selling point for some countries, Israel now especially.
But when getting back to the safety, that's a really key topic recently, right? I remember that last year we had a very interesting situation about other countries and other close European countries providing recommendations to their inhabitants not to come to the Baltics because we are a not safe country.
Yeah.
Is such problem still value recently?
This problem is, yes.
But that's reality versus perception. The point is that we cannot break that perception that something is wrong here. I mean, we have all the arguments in our pockets that it's really safe here, from the NATO argument to whatever you want to take. Troops around here, Americans and so on, meet and greet them in the camps. I mean, they are everywhere around. So that's also marketing part of
Yeah, back
the
to
activity.
communication and
This
our
is the
presentation.
communication, because last year we really felt that we cannot do anything with our campaigns just because the communication level in Europe, in the Western Europe especially, is really too, how to say, like too strong. And we, with our like tourism campaigns, are not on the area, on the playground. And what we feel still from some target markets, the same as in Germany, as if we can go deeply to the numbers, the main tourists from Germany were like a senior tourist, group tourist. And right now it's completely like do not work, because when we're talking to the two operators in Germany, in Italy, in France, so they said like, yes, we understand everything, that you are safe, like everything is fine, but next year.
You need to find an
next year.
influencer, and then it goes there in the German one, and it's gonna
We
influence.
do, but I mean, this is like two strong communication points about the war and about the safety in the region, and we cannot like jump on and do something very extremely. Of course, NATO Summit was one of the main communication channels that we brought such big event, and that was like a really very valuable. And we never do this kind of campaign because we never could bring even the money on the table for this event. But still the two operators are talking about like, yes, next year. So we're looking for the next year right now. But of course, what we can say from our perspective, that the younger generation, they are going around, and these are probably these numbers of people who are traveling. And of course, the pattern of travelers are also is changing, and people do not going anymore like in the big groups. The groups are smaller. It mostly goes people like friends or relatives or families with the children, and we are really very friendly for this part of travelers.
I can also reflect what Gediminas said about the awareness of the country and the importance about using marketing, and that we recently, as Girmantas mentioned, had representatives from SAS and Air Baltic, and we were talking that, okay, everyone agrees Lithuania do not have such popularity or awareness abroad, but having recent events and our national policy when we stood up against China, or we talked a lot about safety and the situation and war in Ukraine, that also put a bit of positive impact to our awareness and acknowledgement, is that a word, of Lithuania as a small, brave and interesting country. So maybe that's also goes to the creativity, not always in the best way. Okay, back to the traditional hands raising questions in the audience. Jurgita, you wanted to ask?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think we expanded a bit from coastal tourism
Yeah.
to probably placemaking and destination management. And that's also a highly relevant question for the region, because we're having huge discussions on that too. So how do you think how we are doing with the destination management. Girmantas probably has a lot of experience in that.
I just remember a couple years ago there was an issue that Klaipėda, some marketing material for Klaipėda, had a sand dune from Curonian Lagoon from Nida, and that was an issue. So you cannot sell Klaipėda as Klaipėda. You can only sell Klaipėda as the coastal region, and this interaction between the municipalities, between the tourism objects, between all the stakeholders and so on, this is what's lacking the most. And just to address what the girls were just talking about, it also reflects on what Olga was saying in her presentation, that it all relies on public to public partnership in the first place and public to private in the second place. Because more often than not, public and public are not communicating well enough. And when somebody, let's say, strengthens the requirements for foreigners, they don't consider how that will affect the incoming international students, that then suddenly they don't have enough time to apply for visas, whatever, and so on. So let's not go that far away from it, but I think it's all about this simple understanding that for us to be interesting, we don't have to be the best in the region. We have to be the best in the world. For us to get on a map, we have to be the best in the world. We have to have the best water slide in the world, so people will want to come and slide that best water slide. We have to have the best indoor wave, so people will want to come and try and surf it, and so on and so on. And this small scale, oh, let's do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Yeah, it's fine. It works with the local tourism. We see in the data.
Yeah.
People will fly in from, United Kingdom, maybe the furthest ones, but that's it. We have to think bigger. We have to have the ambition to go for something much bigger that will actually, break the cycle. And for that, this public sector ambition is something hard to come by, I suppose.
It's a bit of a joke, but we need to leave our Lithuanian shoes aside and step out of our modesty. We have just 5 minutes left, and do you have more? Yes, please.
Ooh, good question. Not sure that I know of any. Yeah, it's hard to say. I know several, infrastructure projects that are coming through, but they're mostly, city-based projects. Neniškis is a great success story, I think, over the last decade or so. They've proved to be a tourist-worthy destination, and they're on a great, projection from my point of view. Regarding the seaside, I'm really excited about Šventoji. When we talk about infrastructure, if we don't have the ports for sailing, for boating, sailing and boating is quite an expensive thing to do. So we can attract this rich tourist to visit us. And when Latvia and Estonia built ports every 50 kilometers I think in the first European Union funding cycle, we still didn't manage to have one. We still don't have access to the Baltic Sea for our Olympic athletes, to train. So I think Šventoji with its seaport infrastructure, it's something that has the best potential right now. But then again, it's like another national stadium. It's been 20 years in the talking and nothing in the making. So.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any more questions? No, that's it. Okay. We still have 3 minutes left, and people from aviation taught me that it's all about the timing. So, any final thoughts or remarks? Probably from my personal perspective, any recommendations, except from being brave, be more visionary, trust. Can we solve the problem of trust in tourism and in partnership in general? So that's my basic takeaways from this discussion. But maybe, I don't know, Olga, what you will take home with you? What you will say to the Ministry of Economy when you will come back?
So I don't know. I'm taking away from all this discussion regarding the ambitions because our team is also is very ambition. It was more ambition, but when you work in the public sector and when you see that nothing changed a lot, sometimes you going down because you can't be like 5-6 years very ambition and do not get anything from that. But I believe in tourism in Lithuania, and I believe like in a few years we will do really our best, and we will not only come back in 2019, but we will go better. But I could say like I really very agree with Girmantas regarding this niche product, because I also was always thinking that the niche products, for example, bird watching, this is also the very good niche, especially in your region. And people who are traveling, especially for the bird watching, they stay longer, they spend money. I mean, they are really very rich people as well. But when you are coming back on the national level, and when you see that the awareness of Lithuania, even on the neighboring countries or like western part of Europe, like Germany, France, is really very low, you are trying then to forget about the niche products and go ahead like with just a common, like a cultural tourism, like a nature tourism, and so on. So this is actually, it's good to find the balance. And for me, it's once again a good ideas to bring to the team and to talk about the strategy, because right now we're thinking about to make a strategy for the next 3-5 years. So this is the very good food for brains right now.
I'll just add a little bit. You need to be brave, ambitious, and so on when you create the strategy. But from my own perspective and experience, the biggest problem in Lithuania is that all the strategies are collecting dust. So all you have to do, brush off that dust, read through, and just do it, because the work's been done more than once.
Okay, thank you. Gediminas?
Not much to add. I think that's no. Just to sum up, the niche on a global scale is massive. So that's the point. I mean, maybe the strategy on working on a particular markets is a good thing to do, but the niche could be bigger than Germany and Italy combined.
We'll think about that.
9 billion market surfing in Europe.
Okay, well, with that, I want to thank you very much for an interesting talks, discussion, thoughts. Thank you for engagement and participation, not thanks to the technology who is not working that well for me. But anyway, I definitely took a lot of food for thoughts, and back to the mayors probably also. Hopefully we will have some influence on that. And thank you once again. Have a nice rest of the conference. Please do not forget to rate the session on the Eventify platform if that will work for you. And see you the next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.